What is a phrase your parents told you that stuck with you and why? Some people aren't meant to be in your life the whole way through. This hits home right now. My future with her at this point is a coin flip. I hope that she stays, but I am not exactly sure what is going to happen. Thank you for this. Kinda add some comfort. Quote from my dad. You can never make anything completely idiot proof. The world will just make better idiots. Best you can do is make it idiot resistant. That's great. The world will just make better idiots. There is a difference between being able to buy something and being able to afford it. My favorite one similar to this is you can't really afford something until you can afford to buy it twice. Obviously not applicable to everything and not always taken literally, but it really is insightful financial advice. My mom told me upon receiving a NES for Christmas, take care of it, because if you break it, we won't buy you another one. That NES worked for 21 years until I gave it to my nephew. Worthless piece of trash, he has broke it within a year. Until this day I am absolutely meticulous about the care of my things, especially electronics. Seeing my 3-year-old son take a DVD out of its case practically makes me lose my crap. Dude, seeing your kid try to do anything is horrible sometimes. Like they gotta learn, but offers it stressful sometimes to watch, lol. We used to go hiking when I was a kid, and when I started getting older we'd go on more difficult hikes. This meant taller mountains and killer views. I remember seeing an outcropping that was absolutely not the safest place to stand, but being a kid, and therefore invincible, in my mind, I inched out in order to get a better look. I'll always remember how my dad saw this, told me in a steady, albeit worried, voice to get back to a safe spot. I protested, but why? It's not like I'm going to fall. To which he replied, nobody goes to the edge of a cliff with the intention of falling. I still think of this each time I go hiking and want to stand on a cool vantage point. Or the morning after I go out drinking and have a wicked hangover, lol. Nobody goes out drinking wanting to feel like death the next day. The advice works for a number of situations. To people that skip red lights, this works too. Nobody skips a red light with the intention of crashing. My friend and I were hanging out, just the two of us, and we were having a great night. Video games and board games. He left and my dad mentioned how much fun it sounded like we had. 2 days later my dad drove me and the same friend plus 2 others to a movie. The entire time my friend was making jokes about me to our other friends. Small stuff, but the entire ride to the theater and the entire way home he picked on me. My dad noticed this and said, friends that are nice to you when you are just spending time together one-on-one and then are mean to you in front of other people to make them laugh aren't really your friends. I feel like it has helped me avoid being treated poorly so someone else can get some laughs. True. I've also heard it as true friends say good things behind your back and mean things to your face. Great quote. When I was 17 I got in trouble with the law. My dad was really pissed and lectured me, and one thing he said to me that stuck out was when he said friends come a dime a dozen and you're paying a real freaking high price for yours. Whoa, very wise. When I was about 8 or 9, my scout troop had a cake auction to raise money for something. The scouts all baked cakes and they brought in an auctioneer to auction them off. We wanted a certain cake, and I asked my mom if I could be the one to bid on it. Our cake came up on the auction block. The auctioneer set an opening bid. I raised my hand and he accepted my bid. Then another guy, an adult, bid higher. I got a little nervous. I was in competition against a big, scary grown-up. I remember my mom was sitting behind me and, rather than offering a gentle word of encouragement, she just said, okay, you're in it now. And she was right. It was me against him. I eventually won the cake. For the rest of my life, whenever I'm in a serious competition, or I've made some major life choice I can't undo, I hear my mom's voice saying, okay, you're in it now. It's not a comforting thought, but it always makes me sharpen up. I'm in it, and there's no going back, and it's up to me to do my best. The cake wasn't very good, by the way, kind of a crumbly angel food, but I never forgot it. I love this. Good words to live by. You'll never be a prophet in your own village, meaning that you need to get recognition elsewhere before the ones closest to you start listening to what you have to say. Luke 4:24, and he said, verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. My dad says when someone yells at me or is horrible and or rude, I'm a nurse, to liken it to a dog barking at someone. Should I be personally offended at the dog for barking at me? Number. So should I take it personally when someone is in my face screaming at me? Also no. It struck home to me to not be so sensitive to others and to let harsh words glide over me. That's good, and some people are awful when they are sick or injured. Still, people do generally need better manners, especially towards those helping them. Honestly, it just say thank you and walk away. Seems to pee people off most when I say thank you when they are being horrible, but they can't do anything, so it's inwardly hilarious. Don't put money in your mouth because it might have been in a stripper's butt. 7-year-old me promptly spit that dollar right out. Mum's words of wisdom. To a 7-year-old, mum was a paragon of virtue. JK. When talking about asking girls out and the fear of rejection, you are gambling with someone else's money. Really drove home that if a girl says yes, I gain something, but if they reject me, I'll lose nothing. This is something that helped me a lot, and it doesn't just apply to girls. Public speaking, meeting new people, and other situations also are examples of situations where the outcome should not and does not affect you in the ways you tend to think it will. If you change the scenery and the problems don't change, it's not the scenery that is the problem. The difference between a good and a bad job is 5 minutes. My dad said this to me after I did a crappy job shoveling the deck. Looking back at it, if I'd just spent a few more minutes, it would have been a good job. In my adult life, I try to spend an extra few minutes to make sure everything is done right. Yeah, my dad was big on taking extra time to do a good job. 2. I learned measure twice, cut once from him and apply it whenever I can. In response to a near-biting incident by a certain athlete, my mom said, well, it's hard to make good decisions when you are both dumb and mean. At least that was better than, he was just planning to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. My mother has a habit of saying whoop, tilt instinctively when she knocks something over. It has to do with old pinball machines evidently. I've never touched one. I still say that crap instinctively though, it's annoying. You tilt the machine so the ball won't roll through the paddles into the abyss, but rather hit one so you can keep playing. The best revenge is success. My daddy told me this when going through my divorce. Ex was putting me through some crap, talking crazy. You know, the normal stuff. You will be nothing, have nothing without me. I'll destroy you. That was 21 years ago. I raised our boys, supported them, give them a great life. I went without a lot, but I don't regret it. 8 years ago I bought my first house. The first Christmas there I invited him so he could meet his first grandchild and maybe start being part of his son's lives. Let him look around. He looked at me and said, you really have done good for yourself, I'm proud of you. Left me speechless, but proud of myself cause now he knows I had have a great life without him. So there, Rojed crap. Always stay gracious, best revenge is your paper. My mum once told me how she knew she loved my dad. She realized one day that she could live without him, but I didn't want to. That level of independence, not relying on one person for your entire happiness, but at the same time this person makes my life better and happier, so why would I ever want to lose them from it? That stuck with me, and I finally understood the feeling when I got together with my current girlfriend. It's helped me feel secure in the relationship. Granddad actually said that the government lottery was simply a tax on fools. Can't bring myself to buy a lottery ticket with that still in my consciousness. Some state lotteries give a large portion of their proceeds to charity, education, etc, so maybe look into those if you ever decide you want to play the lottery. Not sure how much of it actually gets there, but I'm sure there's research that could be done. Treat others how you'd like to be treated. I try to practice this every day. They also told me, if you're looking for recognition for doing good things, then you're doing a favor, not a kindness. If someone needs 15 minutes to explain how good fire product is, it's probably not that good. Dad about TV shop. After I got my first job, my dad said plainly, don't frick your back up for nobody. For some reason it stuck with me 20 years later, and I still remember him saying, while at any job I ever had when there is risk to my back in some way, I've straight up refused work because I'd rather get scolded than frick my back up. That's some excellent advice. My mom ruptured a disc picking up a box and came close to being paralyzed because it went undiagnosed for a long time. When I had to move boxes earlier in my career, I refused to do so if I couldn't push or nudge it easily. If I won't freak up my back moving my own stuff, most certain not doing it for anyone else. If you let someone go first, you can see how it's done before trying something out yourself. Before she, my mother, turned narcissistic. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Actually, I have to tell this to my parents because of false ads on Facebook. I was talking to my mom about depression, crying because all I wanted to be was normal when she said, "You don't ever find normal, but it does get better. You learn how to live one way or the other." For whatever reason, it really helped. In the middle of a conversation about something trivial that I don't even remember, my husband said, "There's no such thing as normal. We see a version of other people. That's not the whole story. Others see a version of us, which is also not the whole story." I remember my dad saying, "Always be wary of people who constantly tell you how hard they work. They are probably the laziest people out there." To this day, I'm surprised how often this is true. It's true for most other aspects too. Honesty, wealth, happiness, etc. If you are on time, then you are 10 minutes late. That has stuck with me. I am very rarely late for anything since I have applied this saying to my life. This is very similar to mine. I rather be an hour early than a minute late. I hate being late to anything and always try to be early. The less people know about you, the better, Dad. I like your dad. When I had questions about peeing as a young lad, my dad said, "You don't just pee into her pee, son." Needless to say, it stuck with me. She pees into yours. My dad, when teaching me how to drive, when we got to a busy intersection with no stop sign and no light, "You sit here until it's clear." How clear it is doesn't depend on how long you've been sitting here. If it's not clear, it's not clear. I don't care if you have to sit here all goddamn day. Kinda had to teach myself this one after a couple near miss lefts. 5 minutes feels like an eternity at an intersection, but ultimately, 5 minutes is just 5 minutes. You're not fooling us. You're only fooling yourself. Trust me, it sounds more devastating with an Armenian intonation. Never corner anything that will run from you. I have no idea why this has stuck with me through the years, or why he felt that I needed that piece of advice. Even better, you should never have to corner anything that won't run from you. My love for you is distinctly separate from whether or not I like you. My mom, some really good advice. I love my wife. I do not always like her, but the best. The measure of a man is not found in whether or not he gets knocked down, but rather what he does when knocked down. Dad had some good advice, still does. When you argue with a fool, there's two fools arguing. My dad was right. Just remember, you're 18. It's a felony now. My dad's advice. I was slightly wild in my teens. My dad's favorite was in line with this. Don't do anything stupid. And if you do anything stupid, don't get caught. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Thanks, Mom. If you're late, you're wrong. When I had a horrible experience moving schools in the middle of 6th grade, my dad would come to my room every night and remind me that this seemed like a huge deal right now, but would someday just be a memory I would look back on and it would seem so insignificant. Those words helped me through a lot of terrible days. Not my dad, but my uncle. Always remember, no matter the circumstance, people are stupid. You have been visited by the Wisdom Papa type. Study well, Papa, or you will fail your next text at school. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.